My beloved child, stop scrolling. Stay here for a moment, because something happened last night that you were never supposed to hear about this way. Someone finally spoke. Someone who had been carrying a truth in silence for far too long finally looked your person in the eyes and told them what they had been afraid to say. And when your person heard the truth about you, something inside them changed. Not gradually, not quietly, all at once. Pause here and breathe, because the next few moments may feel strangely personal. There has been a conversation taking place behind your back, but not the kind you feared. There has been a truth waiting behind closed doors, and last night, your person's brother finally decided that silence had gone on long enough. He could no longer watch his brother or sister misunderstand you. He could no longer watch them carry a version of the story that was incomplete. He could no longer pretend he did not know what he knew. So he told them. He told them what really happened. He told them what you had never been able to explain. And the reaction was not what he expected. Your person went completely still. For several seconds, they said nothing. They simply stared at him, because the story they had been carrying in their heart for so long suddenly began to fall apart. The assumptions, the anger, the disappointment, the questions, the belief that you had stopped caring, the belief that you had chosen to walk away without looking back, the belief that perhaps you had never loved them as deeply as they loved you. One by one, those beliefs began collapsing, and underneath them was something your person had been trying not to feel. Regret, deep, painful regret. My beloved child, you need to understand what happened before you understand why this matters. Your person's brother had noticed the change in them long ago. He saw how your person's eyes changed whenever your name came up. He noticed the way they became defensive whenever someone asked whether they had truly moved on. He noticed how they could speak casually about almost anyone else. Yet somehow your name made the room feel different. There was always a pause, a hesitation, a silence that lasted just a little too long. The brother noticed. He did not say anything at first. He waited, he watched, and over time, he realized that your person was not angry because they had forgotten you. They were angry because they had not. There is a difference. When someone has truly released a person, their name becomes ordinary. But your name had never become ordinary to them. It still carried weight, it still carried memories, it still carried questions, and the brother knew it. He had seen your person wake up from dreams and remain unusually quiet afterward. He had seen them check their phone and then put it away. He had heard them say, "I don't care anymore," in a voice that sounded like someone desperately trying to convince themselves. And he knew something was wrong with the story. So last night, when the moment finally came, he decided to tell the truth. It began quietly. Your person was sitting across from him. The room was calm. There was no dramatic music, no warning, no indication that an emotional storm was about to begin. Then the brother said your name. Your person's expression changed immediately. What about them? That was the question, and the brother took a breath. He knew that once he started speaking, there would be no going back, so he said the words your person had been waiting years to hear. You don't know the whole story. Silence. Your person looked at him. What do you mean? And the brother answered, I mean you were wrong about what happened. Those words landed heavily, because your person had built an entire emotional reality around what they believed happened between you. They had spent countless nights interpreting your silence. They had created explanations. They had replayed conversations. They had blamed themselves. They had blamed you. They had blamed timing. They had blamed circumstances. And suddenly, someone they trusted was telling them that the story they believed was incomplete. Your person asked what he knew. The brother hesitated. Then he began. He told them about a moment they never knew about, a moment when you had been hurting too, a moment when you had made a choice that looked like rejection from the outside but was actually something else entirely. You had stepped away because you believed staying would make things worse. You had protected your feelings by becoming quiet. You had protected their feelings by not demanding answers. You had walked away. With tears in your heart while allowing your person to believe that you were simply finished, and your person's brother knew this. He had known for longer than your person realized. He had seen enough. He had heard enough, and perhaps most importantly, he had understood something your person never did. You were not trying to punish them, you were trying to survive the uncertainty. Your person sat there in silence. Their eyes changed, the anger began disappearing, and underneath it was pain. The kind of pain that comes when someone realizes they may have judged another person without knowing the full truth. They asked the brother one question: why didn't anyone tell me? The brother looked away, because there was no easy answer. Fear, pride, miscommunication, timing. Everyone had assumed someone else would speak. Everyone thought there would be another opportunity. Everyone believed the truth could wait, but truth does not become less important because people are afraid to say it. It simply becomes heavier, and last night, that weight finally became unbearable. Your person's brother told them that you had cared, more than they knew. He told them about things you had done quietly. Things you never used to gain sympathy. Things you never announced. Things you may have even forgotten because you were too busy trying to move forward. Your person listened, and with every detail, another piece of their old story disappeared. Then came the part that broke them. The brother told them that you had once been waiting for a sign, not a grand gesture. Not a dramatic declaration, just reassurance, a reason to believe that opening your heart would not lead to another wound, but instead of giving you certainty, your person had become distant, and you interpreted their distance as rejection. They interpreted your retreat as rejection. Two people, two wounded hearts, two different interpretations of the same silence. And years of emotional consequences. My beloved child, sometimes the most painful separations are not created by the absence of love, they are created by the absence of communication. That is what the brother finally admitted. He told your person that they had been wrong to assume you did not care, and then he said something even more difficult. You were both waiting for the other person to prove it first. Your person lowered their head. They knew, because suddenly, memories began returning. They remembered moments when you had tried, small attempts, questions, messages, the way you looked at them, the way you became quieter after certain conversations. things they had dismissed at the time, things they had interpreted differently. Now those moments looked completely different. Now they could see the person behind them. They could see your fear, your hope, your vulnerability. And your person's eyes filled with tears. They asked their brother, "Did they really love me?" The brother did not hesitate this time. Yes. One word, that was all it took. Your person covered their face, because there are some answers that arrive too late to feel like comfort. They arrive as a reckoning. They force you to confront every moment you misunderstood, every time you could have called, every time you could have apologized, every time you could have said, "I still care." Your person remembered all of it, and then the brother revealed something else, something you may never have known. Your person had once almost reached out to you. They had written a message. They had stared at it for a long time. They had typed, deleted, typed again, deleted again. Eventually, they closed the conversation. Why? Because they believed you did not want them anymore. But where did that belief come from? The brother knew. There had been a misunderstanding. Someone had said something that made your person believe the door was closed, and instead of asking you directly, they accepted the assumption. That one decision changed the entire direction of the story. Your person finally understood this last night, and when they did, their voice became quiet. They said, "I thought they chose to leave me." The brother answered, "Because sometimes one sentence can reveal an entire lifetime of misunderstanding," and suddenly, your person understood why the connection had never felt completely finished. They had been waiting for closure from a story that never actually received the truth. My beloved child, you may have wondered why this person still appears in your thoughts, why certain memories return, why your heart sometimes becomes unexpectedly heavy, why you can be completely fine and then suddenly remember their face. Perhaps you have tried to explain it away. Perhaps you told yourself that it was nostalgia. Perhaps you told yourself that you were simply remembering what could have been. But sometimes the heart keeps returning to a chapter because something inside that chapter remains unresolved. That does not mean you must chase it. It does not mean you must abandon your present. It does not mean you should force an outcome. It means there may be something your heart never received, truth. And last night, your person finally received part of that truth. But the conversation did not end there. The brother told them about something you did after the separation. Something you never told them, something that revealed how deeply you actually cared, and when your person heard it, they stood up, they walked away from the conversation, they could not listen anymore. Not because they were angry, because they were overwhelmed. They went somewhere private, they sat alone, and for the first time in a very long time, they allowed themselves to cry, not the quiet tears they had hidden before, real tears, the kind that come when someone realizes they may have spent too long protecting their pride from the person they actually wanted to understand them. They whispered your name. And then they said something that nobody else heard, "I was wrong." Those words matter, because your person has spent a long time believing they were protecting themselves, Now they are beginning to realize that their defenses may have protected them from vulnerability while simultaneously separating them from something they valued deeply. They thought distance would make them stronger. Instead, distance made them aware of what they lost, aware of what they ignored, aware of what they still feel, and there was one memory they could not escape, a particular moment between you, something small, something that seemed insignificant at the time. You may not even remember it, but your person does. They remember exactly where you were. They remember what you said. They remember the expression on your face, and last night, after hearing the truth from their brother, that memory returned with extraordinary clarity, because now they understood what that moment had meant. You were trying to tell them something without saying it directly. You were giving them one last opportunity to meet you emotionally, and they missed it. That realization devastated them. They asked their brother, "Do they hate me?" The brother shook his head. "No. Are they with someone else?" "I don't know." "Do they still care?" The brother paused, and this time, he could not give them the certainty they wanted, because your heart belongs to you. Nobody else gets to speak for it. Your person's brother understood that, so he said, "You're going to have to find out for yourself." Those words changed the energy of the entire room, because until that moment, your person had been listening to the truth as if it were a story about the past. Now they realized it might require action in the present. They could no longer hide behind what they believed. They could no longer say, "I thought they didn't care." They could no longer say, "I assumed they moved on." They had been given information, now they had a choice, and my beloved child, this is where your story becomes very different, because your person's brother did not simply reveal that you cared, he revealed why you walked away, and the reason was not what your person had imagined. You did not leave because your feelings disappeared. You left because you felt yourself disappearing. There is a difference. You had reached a point where loving someone without knowing where you stood was becoming too painful. You needed clarity, you needed emotional safety, you needed to know that your heart was not being offered to someone who would keep standing at the doorway, so you stepped back. And your person interpreted that step backward as a final rejection. They never understood that sometimes people step away because they are hoping the other person will finally step forward, but neither of you moved, and the silence grew. Until silence became history. Last night, your person's brother finally broke that history. He told them that you were not the villain in the story. He told them that you were not cold. He told them that you were not playing games. He told them that you had been hurt. And then he said the sentence that changed your person's expression completely. They still deserved an apology. Your person stared at him, because deep inside, they knew. There was an apology waiting, one that had been waiting for a very long time, and for the first time, your person did not argue, they did not defend themselves, they did not say, but they simply whispered, "I know." Then came another silence, but this silence was different. It was not avoidance, it was realization. And the brother watched as your person reached for their phone, their hand hovered over the screen, they opened your contact, they stared at your name, and for a few seconds, It seemed like they were finally going to write, then they stopped. Something held them back. Not lack of feeling, fear. The fear of discovering that you had finally moved on. The fear that their apology would arrive too late. The fear that you would read their message and feel nothing. The fear that you would answer honestly. And perhaps the deepest fear of all was this: what if you had become happy without them? That possibility hurt. But it also forced them to understand something. They could not demand a place in your life simply because they had finally understood your value. If they wanted another chance, they would have to earn it. They would have to approach you with humility. Not nostalgia, not loneliness, not guilt, truth. And the brother knew it. So before leaving, he told your person one final thing: don't contact them because you're afraid of losing them. Your person looked at him. Then why should I? The brother answered, contact them because you finally have the courage to tell them the truth. That sentence stayed in the room, and it stayed in your person's mind long after the conversation ended. They did not sleep easily last night. They lay awake thinking about you, thinking about the past, thinking about the version of themselves who had walked away, thinking about the person you were then, and the person you must be now. They wondered whether you had changed. They wondered whether your heart had healed. They wondered whether there was still any space for them. But there was one thing they did not know. They did not know that while they were lying awake thinking about you, something else was shifting, because the truth their brother revealed was only half of what had been hidden. There is another piece, a piece your person's brother knows, a piece your person does not know yet. And this piece is connected to something that happened shortly before you disappeared from their life, something you did quietly, something that could completely change the way your person remembers the final days between you. The brother has kept this secret because he was afraid of interfering, but after last night's conversation, he is no longer sure silence is kindness, because he knows what your person is about to discover, and when your person learns what you actually did during that final chapter, they may realize that the person they thought abandoned them was actually protecting them. But there is something even more shocking. The brother has evidence, not a rumor, not a guess, not a theory. Evidence of a conversation that happened when your person was not present, a conversation involving you, a conversation that explains why you made the decision you made, and my beloved child. The most painful part is this: your person has never heard your side of that conversation. They have only heard the version someone else gave them. Last night, the brother finally admitted that. He told your person there was one more truth they needed to know. Your person looked at him and asked, "What truth?" The brother reached for his phone. He opened something he had saved for a long time. He looked at your person's face. Then he said, "Before you decide whether you should ever speak to them again, you need to hear what they said that night." And as your person leaned closer, the brother pressed play. The room became completely silent. Your person's face changed. Because the first words they heard were yours, and you were saying something they had never expected to hear, something that revealed exactly why you walked away, something that could make them regret every day they spent believing you had stopped loving them. But before the recording reached the most important sentence, your person suddenly stopped it. They looked at their brother with tears in their eyes, and they whispered, Where did you get this?" The brother did not answer, because the truth about where that recording came from was even more shocking